There is a truth so simple, so powerful, it requires no effort to be understood, only surrender. It is this: you do not need to beg for what is already yours. You were not created to chase anything. You are not a servant of circumstance, you are its master. You are not required to fight for the life you desire. You are required only to assume it is already so. The world responds not to your desperation, but to your inner conviction. When you beg, you speak from lack. When you chase, you declare it is not yet yours. But when you feel deeply, quietly, confidently that it is already done, you move the entire universe to bring it forth. Everything begins in the unseen, the invisible reality you cultivate within. Your thoughts, your inner speech, your silent knowing. That is the real seed. You don't water a garden by pleading for it to grow. You water it by knowing it is growing. Step into the version of yourself who already possesses what you once sought. Walk, speak, and live as that version, not pretending, but accepting. To the world it may look like stillness, but in truth, it is the most powerful movement of all, creation from within. No longer do you need to reach outward. The moment you feel it real, it is done. Not tomorrow, not in some distant future, now. In that moment of feeling, the bridge begins to form. The unseen is already organizing, shaping, bending reality to reflect your inner world. So rest. Rest in the knowing. Stop asking if it's working. Stop chasing signs. Stop doubting the power that lives within you. Feel it done. Feel it real. And then allow it to come. You are not a beggar in the kingdom of your own mind. You are the author, the ruler, the dreamer of dreams. Don't beg. Don't chase. Just feel it happen, and so it shall be. The world you experience is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Everything you see, touch, feel, and know is a reflection of the inner state you continuously occupy. There is no power outside of you shaping your destiny without your consent. The secret lies in this unshakable truth. Imagination creates reality. Not someday, not if you're lucky, but always now without fail. You were born with a gift far more powerful than force or effort. It is the power to imagine and believe. And when you dare to imagine from the end, from the place where your desire is already fulfilled, you awaken a law so certain it cannot be broken. You stop living as a victim of chance and begin to walk as the conscious creator of your world. Those people imagine in response to what they see. They observe the current circumstances and then they react. But to live that way is to remain a prisoner of what already is. Nothing new can emerge from that loop. But the one who turns away from appearances and begins to feel into a new state, a new possibility, a new version of self, that person alters everything. It is not enough to simply wish. Wishing comes from separation. It says, I don't have this. It keeps the desire at a distance. But when you imagine from the state of already having it, you claim ownership. You no longer need it to come because you have accepted it as done. And what is accepted inwardly must be reflected outwardly, for the world can only mirror what lives within. You might say, but I don't see it yet. And I say to you, you do not plant a seed and dig it up each day to see if it's growing. You trust the invisible process. The same is true here. Once you have imagined vividly, once you have felt the joy, the peace, the confidence of the fulfilled desire, let it be. Do not return to worry. Do not return to lack. Instead, return to the feeling. Feel it again and again. Occupy the new state until it becomes more familiar than the old. This is not fantasy, this is creation. This is the very method by which your life has always unfolded, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The only difference now is that you choose to do it deliberately. You choose to turn away from the noise of doubt, from the evidence of the senses, and you turn within to the quiet, sacred space of imagination. There is no begging in this space, there is no chasing, there is no struggle. There is only assumption. And assumption, when persisted in, becomes fact. It may not happen instantly, but it must happen, because the outer world must yield to the inner conviction. So whatever it is you long for, love, abundance, freedom, peace, see it now, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Feel it now, not as a dream to chase, but as a reality to accept. Assume it is already yours. Walk in that state. Speak from that state. Think from that state, and the world will echo back exactly what you dared to believe. There is a sacred power that lies not in effort, not in action, but in feeling. Emotion is not something to be controlled or silenced. It is the golden key, the hidden bridge between what is invisible and what becomes visible. Your feelings are not passive, they are creative. Every time you feel something deeply, you impress it upon the unseen realm, and from that impression, your outer world is formed. This is the mystery so few understand. Feeling is the secret. It is not enough to say the words. It is not enough to hold a desire in your mind like a distant hope. You must feel it in your heart as if it were already real. You must sink into the joy, the satisfaction, the relief of having the thing now. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because now is the only moment where creation begins. People often try to manifest from a place of force, reciting affirmations without emotion, visualizing without connection. But unless the feeling accompanies the thought, it is lifeless. It is the feeling that breathes life into the image. It is the emotion that gives substance to the unseen. Thought is the mold, but feeling is the fire that sets it. Ask yourself, how would I feel if it were already done? What would peace feel like if the money had already arrived, if the love was already mine, if the healing had already occurred? That feeling is not just a preview, it is not just a daydream. It is the act of creation itself. You do not need to beg the universe. You do not need to struggle. You only need to feel. And feel consistently, not for hours, but with depth. Even a moment of true, sincere feeling carries more power than 1,000 hollow repetitions. Just as a single spark can ignite an entire forest, one moment of true belief can shift your entire world. The reason why many people struggle is because they try to create while holding on to doubt. They feel the lack more than the fulfillment. They imagine the desire, but emotionally live in fear of it not happening. And so the result matches the emotion, not the thought. The universe does not respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. And what you are is defined by what you feel. To change your life, change your emotional state. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled become your home. Let it be the place you return to throughout the day. Even when the world looks the same, do not be moved. Your job is not to fix the outer, it is to feel the inner. And in time, the outer must bend. It must match the vibration you sustain. When you feel it real, the unseen is already in motion. Paths are opening, circumstances are shifting, but you may not see it yet. And that's fine. The seed does not sprout the moment it's planted, but it grows. And it grows because the feeling was planted deeply. So feel now. Feel as if it's already yours. Let the feeling carry you, guide you, comfort you. And know, truly know, that this feeling is not fantasy. It is creation. It is alignment. And it is the secret that makes the invisible become seen. To live in the end is to stop looking forward to your desire and start looking from it. This is the difference between longing and receiving, between delay and manifestation. As long as you are hoping and wishing, you are affirming that what you want is not yet yours. You are living in separation. But the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you cross the threshold. You are no longer on the outside looking in. You are dwelling in the very state that calls the unseen into form. Living in the end means occupying the state of consciousness where your desire has already been fulfilled. It's not about pretending or forcing. It's about surrendering to the reality that already exists within. You do not try to make it happen. You assume it is already done. You see the world through new eyes, because from your new state, everything must reflect your inner knowing. This is not a technique of force. It's not a mental trick. It is a quiet but powerful shift. It is turning inward and saying, "This is who I am now." It is letting go of striving, of trying to become, and instead resting in being. You are no longer becoming wealthy, you are wealthy. You are no longer trying to find love, you are already loved. You do not wait for peace. To live in the end is to rearrange your entire identity, and your identity determines your world. You cannot dwell in lack and receive abundance. You cannot feel lonely and attract connection. What you are within is always what is revealed without. So ask yourself not what you want, but who you would be if it were already true. Once you answer that, begin living from that version of yourself, not as a role, not as an act, but as truth. This is the secret few dare to embrace because it requires you to abandon the evidence of the senses. The outer world may tell you it's not done. Your bank account may disagree. Your circumstances may protest. But you do not yield to appearances. You yield only to your inner state. And when you persist in that state, the outer must conform. This is not a matter of time, it is a matter of faith. Faith is not hoping things will improve. Faith is knowing they already have. When you live in the end, you stop checking, you stop doubting, you stop asking when. The only question that remains is, am I feeling from the end? If the answer is yes, then trust the process. The bridge of incidents will appear. Life will rearrange itself to reflect your new assumption. You don't have to figure out how. The how is not your role. Your role is to dwell in the feeling of it being done, consistently, gently, without strain. So release the need to fix the outer. Release the habit of waiting. Begin now. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and place yourself at the end. See it, feel it, own it. Walk in that state, speak from that identity, and watch as reality reshapes itself to mirror who you have become within. This is the power. This is the key. This is the way. Live in the end and let the rest unfold. The law does not respond to begging, wishing, or even asking. It responds to being. This is the great truth hidden in plain sight. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. The universe is not moved by desperation. It is not persuaded by effort. It is completely neutral, mirroring back to you the state of consciousness you consistently occupy. Desire is not wrong. It is the spark. But desire must be followed by assumption. To remain in a state of wanting is to remain in a state of lack. Wanting says, it is not here yet. And the law, ever faithful, reflects that state back as delay, as absence. You are not punished for your desire. You are simply met with the echo of your own inner state. What many fail to understand is that the law is not listening to your words. It is feeling your vibration. It is reading the silent message you carry within you at all times. That message is written not in thoughts alone, but in the deep emotional tone of your being. If you feel incomplete, you will see experiences that confirm your incompleteness. If you feel abundant, even in the smallest way, that seed will be mirrored in the events and circumstances around you. To shift your world, you must shift your identity. Stop asking, when will it happen? And begin asking, who am I being? This is the true work. To become the one who already has what they once sought, not through force, but through surrender. Not by pretending, but by assuming. When you assume the state of already having, you bypass the illusion of time. You declare that the thing you seek is already yours, and because you live from that truth, the world has no choice but to fall in line. You speak differently, you move differently, you think and feel and walk in a way that matches the result, not the process. And that difference, that inner alignment, is the signal that shapes the outer form. You may say, but I don't feel like I have it. Then begin small. Imagine how you would feel if it were true. Not in some distant future, but now. Take that feeling and wear it throughout your day like a new coat. Let it become familiar. Let it become normal. That emotional familiarity is what solidifies your new identity. And once your identity is stable, the world reflects it with precision. The law is simple. Be, and it shall be given. You do not need to push or strive. You do not need to explain or justify. You only need to step into the role. Be the one who is already loved. Be the one who is already successful. Be the one who is already healed, already free, already chosen. Your world is the printout of your self-concept. Change that and you change everything. You don't wait for proof, you become the proof. The outer world is not cause, it is effect. The cause lives within. And when you master that inner state, the outer must obey. So stop wanting and start being. Speak as one who has received. Move as one who has arrived. Feel as one who is fulfilled. For the law responds not to want, but only to what you have dared to become. Persistence in assumption is the silent strength that turns possibility into certainty. It is not loud. It does not beg. It does not argue with appearances. It quietly, stubbornly, and faithfully holds to the unseen truth, even when everything outside seems to say the opposite. This is where true power lies, not in forcing the world to change, but in refusing to be moved by what has not yet caught up to your inner state. When you assume a new reality, the outer world doesn't always shift immediately. There may be delay, resistance, or even the appearance of the opposite. But this is not failure. This is merely the old echo fading out. It is the shadow of your former self still playing its last scene. If you panic, doubt, or revert to your old mindset, you strengthen the very thing you are trying to move away from. But if you persist, if you remain loyal to your new state of being, the outer world must eventually yield. It is law. The truth is simple but profound. The world reflects the dominant assumption you carry within. Not a passing thought or a fleeting hope, but the deep, settled belief of who you are and what is true for you. That assumption, when held consistently, becomes your reality. But it must be held, not visited occasionally or tested to see if it's working, but inhabited as your dwelling place. This means walking through your days with the inner knowing that what you have assumed is already done, even if the bank account says otherwise, even if the person hasn't called, even if your body still feels the pain. You remain unmoved. You say within yourself, this is just the old story fading. I know who I am now. I know what I have chosen to accept as true, and in that steadiness, you create. Persistence is not effort. It is not grinding or forcing. It is simply returning again and again to your inner vision, your inner conviction, your inner reality. It is choosing to believe your imagination over your senses. It is knowing that the unseen is more real than what appears, because what appears is always the result of what you have already accepted inwardly. This path requires discipline of mind, not through suppression but through awareness. When doubts arise, and they will, you don't fight them. You simply turn your attention back to your assumption. When fear creeps in, you don't panic, you breathe and you remember, I have already claimed this, it is already mine. You treat the inner world as sacred because you know it is the source of all that is to come. The one who persists is the one who wins, not because of luck, not because of effort, but because reality cannot help but conform to the dominant assumption. It has no choice. The outer must bend to the will that does not waver. So stay firm, stay inwardly convinced. See the result in your mind's eye until it becomes natural, until it feels familiar, until it is no longer a question, but a fact in your heart. Do not look for signs, become the sign. And trust deeply, calmly, completely, that what you hold within must be reflected without. For reality always yields to the one who dares to persist. Effort, in the way most people understand it, is resistance disguised as action. It is the attempt to force the outer world into compliance, as though creation were a matter of pushing pieces into place. But true manifestation is not a product of struggle. It is born from stillness, from certainty, from the effortless flow of being. You are not meant to chase what is yours. You are meant to align with it, feel it, and allow it. Chasing is rooted in lack. It declares to the universe, I do not have this yet, so I must pursue it. And in doing so, you affirm the very separation you're trying to eliminate. The more you chase, the further it feels. You may act, you may plan, you may move, but if your inner state is one of trying rather than being, you remain in a cycle of delay. But when you let go of effort, not action, but effort, you open the door to receive. You shift from pushing to trusting. You enter the flow. That flow isn't passive, it is receptive. It is the deep knowing that what is yours will find its way to you, not through strain, but through alignment. You no longer need to run toward your desire. You realize you're already standing where it belongs, within the feeling, within the state. Creation responds not to how hard you try, but to how real you feel it to be. When you feel it real, the world must organize itself to match your feeling. This is not about pretending. It is about surrendering into the reality you've chosen. When you no longer see it as separate, you stop trying to make it happen and begin to live as if it already has. Letting go of effort means releasing the need to manipulate outcomes. It means no longer checking the clock, scanning for signs, or seeking validation from the outer world. It is resting in the truth that it is already done. And that rest is powerful. That quiet trust is the foundation upon which all visible change is built. You are not meant to be in constant striving. You are meant to be in constant knowing. Action can and will come, but it will be inspired, not forced. You will be moved by intuition, nudged by clarity, led by peace. And those actions will carry far more power than 1,000 acts taken from doubt. Allowing the flow is not laziness. It is mastery. It is the wisdom of inner alignment over outer aggression. It is understanding that the self that knows it already has magnetizes what it desires, not because it begs, not because it pushes, but because it no longer stands in its own way. So stop chasing. Pause, breathe, feel the reality you desire is already yours. Let it saturate your senses, not with strain but with ease. Say quietly to yourself, this is mine. I need not reach for it. I already contain it. And in that calm, in that certainty, you enter the current of the unseen, where all things flow from the inner to the outer. Let go. Allow. Feel it done. And watch how easily life brings to you what you once thought you had to chase. When you stop begging, stop chasing, and instead feel it real, everything changes. You move from hoping to knowing, from wanting to being. The outer world is no longer your master, but your mirror. You no longer live in reaction, but in creation. Assumption becomes your foundation. Feeling becomes your language, and persistence becomes your silent strength. You do not need to fight, convince, or wait. You need only to become. When you live in the end, when you know the law responds to who you are, not what you want, you walk in a quiet power. You shift from force to flow. And in that shift, life begins to unfold effortlessly, beautifully, faithfully. So let go of effort, embrace the stillness, feel it as already done, and trust completely that what is yours is already on its way, because it has no choice. You've already claimed it within. Thank you for listening.